All right, so welcome to another video. Today we're going to go ahead and take a look at Twitter. Elon Musk has a huge stake in Twitter, so we're going to go ahead and check that out. I'll give you some thoughts and takes on it along with the charts. Keep in mind, none of these are recommendations to buy or sell any stock. It's just my own personal opinion. So we're going to go ahead and check these things out. All right, so for the first thing is take a look here. Elon Musk buys 2.9 billion stake in Twitter to become biggest shareholder. So this actually goes beyond Jack Dorsey, I think 3 to 4 times or so. So basically it pushes the stock quite a bit higher, but I think what to watch here is that a lot of other stocks are pushing a bit higher as well. Now he revealed it and so on. So this basically pushes this stock quite a bit higher. Now, the question is should you get in it now? That kind of thing. That's all up for debate. Just because he bought it doesn't mean you need to buy it. But his reasons might be different than yours. So that's why I always say be mindful. When we look at some of these things from a technical aspect, because that's what I like to do is just go in from a technical aspect here for you guys. We are breaking out quite a bit. There's some huge volume that's coming in. You've got some lows here in December as well. That was support or resistance. It also had a nice rounding basing bottom here, about that price level, about $32 per share. So when you start looking at this kind of sideways pattern and then a nice break, this is actually really nice for the stock. However, one thing to pay attention to for sure is that when you have a gap like this, there is some sellers that will start pressing the stock lower. They will start selling off a bit, usually because they're already taking profits. They might have gotten it way over here and now it popped quite a bit. So for them, it went up a lot. And they'll start dumping some. However, will the bullishness of Elon buying all this stock outweigh the sellers that are down here? Probably for the time being. But remember, you do have this weakness here on this gap, because when there's an empty space, it's like having holes in your floor. Usually will suck the stock lower to some degree. Maybe it'll go a little bit higher and then it could press lower in the future. Now, one thing to really watch here is there's a couple of things that I looked at when I started watching this is kind of this line right here, is that right there, when we look at these swing points, okay, we're starting to get into some resistance, like critical resistance right at the 50. The 50 is also a psychological value that some people say, it's at 50. It's kind of a little bit high. It was already at a lower level around 30. So they might say, hey, it's a little bit high and toppy, and this is where you want to be careful. Other than that, the stock is doing well. The volume is there. It's quite bullish. I don't know if it's going to be a huge, massive buying opportunity, but the fact is it is pressing the stock higher, and you want to be mindful. There's also here earnings coming up, so that's something to pay attention to. For me personally, what would I do? I'm starting to watch some of the things that are related to the industry, because usually what happens is you get sympathy plays. So for example, like Snap is starting to push a little. One thing that I'm also watching, that I also have some positions on, is Pinterest. It's starting to press a little bit. So what you'll see is oftentimes stocks like this will start pushing into higher prices. You've got Facebook as well trying to push about $7 or so today. So all these things start playing a role in the movement, even though Twitter is the big winner here today and it's pressing 26%. I personally don't chase stocks that are up more than 10% for the day, and this one's up already 26. So I know a lot of people get excited about it and it's like amazing, but for me, I try to keep the emotions out of it. You can also see the Tesla stock itself also pressing a bit higher. As just we're right now a little bit more into the bullish camp for some of these. We had a slight little digestion. It's trying to push a little. Be careful of the volume starting to weaken out a little bit recently, but doesn't mean it can't pick up. And we are a little bit stretched on these things. So when we look at Twitter here, that's a big stretch here. And that's why I don't personally chase these things, especially on day one. Usually what I would do is give it kind of 3 to 5 days to digest the move and see. Yes, you might miss a little bit more on that, but it shows you if it's going to be stable and if you're going to have sellers coming in back here, and if that gap's going to stay stable. Because if it is going to keep pressing into higher prices, and if you're going to say, hey, the stock's going to go to 70, 1 or 2 days is probably you're not going to miss that move. So anyway, that's kind of my take on Twitter here right now. Even though Elon's getting in into the stock. and you know, it's got a revealed that it's got a big stake in it and so on. It's just not something that I personally do when it comes to chasing. It's like, hey, cool, if you got in it at lower prices because it was breaking a trend line of some sort and now by happenstance it popped for you, that's fantastic and great. For me, it just, you know, I wasn't in the stock or anything like that, but I just don't chase stuff that's up that fast and that quickly. I just find the risk to reward is usually not as beneficial. Yes, some things can keep going, but a lot of times it just doesn't pan out very quickly, at least not if you're in right away. Sometimes you can have things that'll pull back a little bit and then snap back up. And I think that's usually a much more favorable way to kind of look at it. So anyways, those are my thoughts. Hope you enjoy them. Thanks for joining me. Feel free to check out the Discord channel that we have. So the link is in the description there below. And then you can also check out the website that we have at tradersfly.com, where we have some live classes and other things there going on. All right, thanks again. Enjoy the rest of the week ahead, and I will see you on the next video.